tonight, part of my talk is about helping people change their perspective. So I know people are here and they're going to get their pens out and they're going to be tapping away looking for the one or two magic things I'm going to say, and we will probably say those for you. We'll talk about some solutions that will absolutely help you that you can institute as quick as this evening. Some of them, well, you've already probably made that mistake for today, so you'll have to try to clean that one up for tomorrow. But when it really comes down to it, it comes down to a healthy lifestyle. So if I can get you to adapt to a healthier lifestyle and exercising a little more and eating a little better and controlling your stress, you'd be amazed at how far that will take you in life. Now, I'm 54 years of age. The last medication that went into my body was 27 years and 8 months ago. So in September is going to be my 28th year anniversary. So I'm very adamant that my body is designed by God to heal on its own. So in extreme cases, I would consider taking a medication. In extreme cases, if death was imminent. So if death was imminent and I needed to take an antibiotic, I wouldn't question it. If I had a fractured leg and I couldn't stand the pain, I would take something. But I wouldn't take fentanyl. I wouldn't take an opiate, because when you start to see all the information on the news and that, the last study I saw from the States, they said in the United States, if 4 people are given opioids, one of them will become an addict. So, you know, when this drug came on the market in the first place, the fentanyls and the OxyContins, the drug companies promised it was less addictive than the last drugs that they were replacing. That was part of the premise of letting this on the market. As we all know, that was a big fat lie. So you need to be able to understand that people aren't always telling you the truth, especially if they're selling you something. Well, I want you to know I'm not selling you anything here tonight. I'm telling you the fact that you've got an incredible power inside your body, and if you understand that, then you'll make different choices for the rest of your life. So I want you to look at your health differently tonight too. As you leave and you start thinking, what can you do to improve your health? Well, if you want to be a healthier person, you need to change the way you think so that you can become a healthier person. So I know everyone's looking for the magic change. I had a person that was in this week, just lost his mother, and she was in her 80s. Now he's moved out at his house into his dad's house, who's got some health issues, and he's sleeping there all the time instead of being at home. He's still trying to run his business, still trying to keep in contact with his wife, and he walks in and says, what's the one stretch that will help my headache? And it's like, there is no one stretch. Your emotional level is through the roof. You're worried about your dad, you've just lost your mother, you're grieving, and people are looking for one stretch. So I, of course, recommend he should come in and get checked out. He goes, no, what's the one thing? So I was like, oh, okay, just go like this twice. And he goes, hey, thanks. And you know it's not going to work, but at least he left with something. But, you know, I had to tell him something to do, but he's got to change his lifestyle. And you're supposed to grieve when you lose people like that, aren't you? When you lose your family member. The problem. Man is the only animal on earth, the only mammal, who can actually take ourselves away from sleep. We can deprive ourselves. They're the only creature on earth. Just because you can do something doesn't mean we should do it. We stay up late. Light bulbs, computers. You know, the invention of the light bulb was a good thing, but it was a bad thing. Because now people stay up late, they waste their time, they don't get a proper night's sleep. Almost every night I'm in bed or I'm asleep in front of the television by 10 o'clock. My body shuts me down by 10 o'clock. And I'm usually up by 5:30. That's my cycle, and that works best for me. But staying up beyond midnight is not good for the body. Study after study will show that. So just because we can do it doesn't mean we should. The consequence of poor sleep. Well, here's 2 entertainment icons that lost their lives to sleep issues. Keith Ledger, he was self-medicating, and what happened? His medications interacted, and he died. He was the Joker in Batman, you know, one of his more famous roles that most people will remember. And then we've got Michael Jackson, whose medical doctor had to put him to sleep and wake him up. Do you see how outside in that model is? Giving you a drug to go to sleep, giving you a drug to wake up. That's not the way your body was ever designed. So I just don't understand how people bought into this crazy lifestyle where you need a drug for everything. If I can go 27 years without anything, I'm no different. I just might be doing different things from you. So there is a high cost to making mistakes with medications. And I'm a big believer that medicine overpromises and they underdeliver when it comes to their medication. We found some research about sleeping pills. They said on average, a sleeping pill will give someone who was having a sleeping problem 17 more minutes a day. That's all they're getting. On average, 17 minutes, with a list of side effects to follow. Be cautious. Someone's trying to sell you something at all times. A tangled web we weave. Anxiety and depression are usually highly correlated with insomnia. As insomnia worsens, anxiety and frustration mount, leading to a vicious cycle. Those desperate enough for sleep often over-medicate themselves, which doesn't treat the insomnia at all. Instead, it masks the underlying issue in a narcotic haze that can lead to addiction and even more sleepless nights. That's from an assistant professor in the Laboratory of Sleep and Behavior. This is what experts in the field are telling you. A narcotic haze. You just get used to it. How do people go from 2 Tylenol a day to 4 Tylenol a day? Well, 2 stopped working, so they went to 4. You see, they stay in the model and they keep medicating themselves. You can't do that. What happens when people get a poor night's sleep? Well, they're going to get poor performance. They're going to get more chance of injury at work. They're going to get less chance of promotion at work because they're the one that's not alert. They're going to get poor mental states, so they're more likely to become anxious and depressed. And it was just about a year ago, they said one of the number one reason why people go to medical doctors in Ontario is anxiety and depression now. It's the number one reason. See, our needs and wants are kind of messed up nowadays. When we look at people's, how they spend money and the debt that they take on. And our wants have taken over. And then people don't worry about their debts. They don't worry about their health. They're caught up in this crazy world. 2 Fridays ago in the editorial in the paper, they said 60% of Canadians don't have $200 in their bank account. 60%. Isn't it great to not be in the majority, to be in the minority? And when you look at your life, if you're doing things right, you probably should always be in the minority. Because most people don't want to exercise. Most people don't want to eat right. Most people don't want to go to church. Most people don't do what they're supposed to do. So they don't. So then you find yourself siding with the lazier people in life. And tonight is about perspective and thinking about where you are and more importantly, where you plan on being. Alright? So it's not where you are, it's where you're heading. Poorer health. No one plans on getting poorer health, but it happens. And we attribute that to our genes, our aging. Our excuse for putting on weight is, well, I get older and my metabolism slows down. You know what? Part of it is we don't have the drive the same way, so we have to push ourselves more. And that's okay, all right? So it's okay, but we have to acknowledge that it's not your genes, it's what we're doing to our genes on a daily basis. 9 signs you need better night's sleep. If you get 8 of these, you still have problems, okay? So no, don't wait till, well, I don't have all 9 of those yet. You know what? These are things that are bad. Your blood pressure starts to increase. Your body will adapt to the stress. That's why your blood pressure goes up. Now, what does medical doctors do? They'll give you a drug to bring it down. Now, does that really make you healthy? Or does that just make you look kind of healthy as you continually are heading on that highway to hell in the wrong direction? See, that's what people do. They put a drug in and they assume they're healthy. You're unable to focus or remember. Michelle, that was funny with what Mina said.
Yeah.
What did she say? So,
well, you asked her
we
a
kept asking
question,
her to table,
and then she just like didn't say anything, and then she's like, "I'm tired."
Is Mina 3 or 2?
She's 3.
She's 3.
Yeah.
So she's standing there, and you could just see the focus problem. And then, but it was brilliant what she said. She says, "I'm tired," and it's like, yeah. You've lost your focus, because usually you would have jumped right on the table, right on Mom, I would have adjusted you, and she's there. I just need it now. You know, where us adults, we're afraid to say that.
Smart
Yet
kid.
Mina was like so clear what the problem was. It's like, that was so funny. You get frequent coughs and colds. We're seeing a lot of people in May with colds, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But part of that is the weather's up and down. We're not getting the sun, and then the body gets run down. Now, just because there's colds around doesn't mean you're going to catch it. I see a lot of people in the office, and the only time I catch a cold is when I deserve to catch a cold. That means I'm not eating well and I'm not exercising. But the rest of the time, we all fight these things off. You've heard me say it before, but if colds made you sick, your medical doctor would be dead by noon, right? So it's not about the germ, it's about your body's response to germs. People sleep in late in the weekend. They have to try to catch up on their sleep because they're tired during the day. Your blood sugar creeps up, and then eventually become something called pre-diabetic, which is just crazy because that's not even a real thing. That's like saying you're pre-old age or you're pre-cancer. Well, you don't have cancer now, but you might get something, so let's give you chemo right now. See, they're trying to teach people that diabetes is a normal state to happen to you. It's not normal. It's absolutely abnormal. If you exercise and eat well, you can bring your blood sugars back down. But if you're not getting the sleep, you're pushing your body in a very, very bad direction. You can't shed pounds. That's an interesting one because when it comes to not being able to lose weight, a lot of times it does have to do with sleep and the hormones that you've thrown off in your body. So I know you want sleep to be better, and I'm here saying that's downstream. Sleep is downstream. We have to fix what you're doing upstream. So I can give you some little things that we can tinker around with at the end, but we have to fix the front end in order to make everything work at the back end of the equation. You consume caffeine all day. That's probably not a good idea. Yeah, you can't stop hitting the snooze button. Actually, on Wednesday morning, I almost stayed in bed for 10 minutes. And the thought that kept me going was, no, I've got too many important things to do. So not many people, at the end of the day, they said, oh, you know what, that extra 15 minutes sleep, that was the greatest thing in my day. People don't say that. They say, I got up and I got my workout in. Thank goodness I decided to work out instead of sleeping in for 15 minutes. The best time of the day to work out is first thing in the morning. The second best time of the day is any other time during the day. All right? But you need to work out, and you should be doing something on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. There should be a lot of variety in your workouts. You're irritable and moody. Well, you might not notice it. Your spouse might notice it for you. Now, when it comes to sleep, I don't want to get into a lot of the science of it, but what you need to understand, there's 5 phases of sleep. 1, 2, 3, 4, and REM sleep. REM sleep is when the recharging actually occurs. So what your body does, it goes through phases 1, 2, 3, 4, and then REM. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and REM. And it does this several times through the night. The first cycle is the longest, and then it keeps doing the same cycle over and over again. And it's supposed to do it. If you're not completing the cycle, you're not getting into REM sleep, rapid eye movement, then you will wake up and you will be tired. And if you're tired, what's your solution going to be that day? It's going to be coffee. It's going to be sugar. It's going to be trying to fix your body from the outside in. And occasionally you might get away with that. But me not being a diabetic, I realize how easy it is to monitor my blood sugar because I have to do nothing. But if I force my body into a diabetic state, now I have to constantly monitor my blood sugar to see if it's too high or too low. You see, now I'm in charge of it instead of my body self-regulating and self-controlling itself. So I'm not here to heal you. I'm here to remove interference so that you can make better choices so that you can't be sick like too many other people out there. There was an article I was talking about on my radio show for next week's show, and they were saying in the United States, 1 out of 20 children have at least one chronic illness. And they did not include obesity in there. If they had included obesity in there, it would have been 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. 1 out of 20 have at least one. Their parents' generation, so one generation before, it was 1 in 80. So it was really clear. It went from 1 in 80 to 1 in 20. Very similar. I'm going to get rid of this now. Very similar to what we found with autism over the last several years. So we're seeing these incredible changes, And no one is stepping up and saying, hey, what's going on here? Well, something's going on, and it has to do with our lifestyle. So we have to start making some changes if we want the next generation to be healthy. Here's a kind of a guideline of how many hours, depending on your age, you should be sleeping. So, for an adult, 7 to 8 hours. Most people need to be in that range, and some people can function beyond there, but it doesn't mean you're going to be healthy. All right? If you do those things for too long, then you're going to end up sick. The body needs REM sleep, and if you don't get that, if you don't get to your rapid eye movement sleep, this is enough to kill you. It's so important that you're lying down and resting every night if you want your body to work the way it's supposed to. I was looking at this slide today, and I was thinking about Top Gun. You know, you look at this. This almost looks like an air fighter, doesn't it? This is what people go to bed with and sleep with at night if they have sleep apnea. You guys know what sleep apnea is? Yeah. So basically, what's happening is your body is stopping breathing, and obviously this is a crisis. But what they're going to do is they're going to force oxygen into your body. Once again, that's a little outside in. Because these people at one point didn't have sleep apnea. So you got to follow me on this. They didn't have it, and then they got out of balance. They stopped exercising, they didn't eat right, their stress went up, their medication, whatever it was. But it pushed them in a direction where they went from full human potential down that spectrum to symptoms, and then finally ending up in disease. You see, in my model, health is the normal state, and sickness is simply a lack of health. So my job is to create health again by removing interference. You see, light to me is normal, and darkness is lack of light. So sickness is simply lack of health. It's not a condition. Medicine wants you to think sickness is a real thing. No, it's not. It's a lack of what you're supposed to already have inside your body. So them putting a drug in there, likely not going to fix you. It might fix your symptoms, but then you'll notice that you need that drug forever and ever. It's not fixing you. It's a Band-Aid. Some people need those things, but you know what? I don't want those things. I want to avoid those things. When you have untreated sleep apnea, it can lead to some serious health issues. Blood pressure, stroke, heart attacks, and even arrhythmias. There was an article in the paper last week about a 15-year-old who had Mountain Dew at McDonald's, and then he had a cafe latte there, and then he had a Red Bull, and he died later that day. He went into arrhythmia and died. This is, the young generation is like, they're like 3 drinks away from dying, some of these people, because their lifestyle is so different than our lifestyle. But you can't throw caffeine like that constantly in our body. When we were young, a pop was a lot smaller than it used to be. And then they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's high fructose corn syrup in there, and now they're drinking these energy drinks, and guess what? Arrhythmias, and then they die. Crazy stuff, isn't it? 15-year-olds. That didn't happen when we grew up. Sleep apnea. Now with sleep apnea, we're supposed to be able to take in oxygen through our sinuses, through our mouth, and through our nose and through our mouth, and then there's a nice space there to get the air in. With sleep apnea, that space is lost. The palate drops back, the tongue drops back, and a lot of this has to do with these people are just, they're out of shape. So one common thing I see with the sleep apnea people is they put on a lot of weight over time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in the younger days, when you got a slice of pizza, like nowadays, pizza's something you get all the time, but I remember when I was younger, you'd get a slice of pizza, I remember burning the roof of my mouth, because it was like, you got to get that pizza in as quick as you can. And you know how painful that was, a pizza burn on the top of your mouth? They're going in and they're cutting away your soft palate and part of your, I guess, the tongue at the back here, to try to create those spaces for you. This is the medical solution for the problem of sleep apnea. Your palate grew too long. That doesn't make sense at all, does it? That palate was the same size that it was 2 years ago. What got worse was your lifestyle. So my job is to make sure that people are aware that lifestyle needs to be the first change. The nerves that control breathing, well, they're all under control of the nervous system. And my job is to make sure that everything is lined up properly so the messages can flow in the human body. I'm not here to fix sleep apnea. People come in and they think it's their knee that they need to see me for. Your knee is the symptom of your problem because you're walking improperly. Or your low back is the symptom, and you might have had a flare-up down there, but it's because of the way you stand or what you do all day long. So we have to biomechanically get you back into balance so the body can heal. And then once we do that, you'll be fine. But most people, they just want that fixed because that's what medicine taught you. They taught you that you're that. You were never that. All right? You're a whole person. And when you have these problems, it affects every aspect of your life. When you have sleep apnea, you look at that mask. You're not going to be able to go away the same way that I will. And if you go away, you got to bring your machine with you. Their life changes forever and ever. And they still haven't addressed their problem, their weight, their stress, or their lack of exercise. That is going to kill them. So our approach to life is lifestyle. If you fix lifestyle and you exercise and you eat well and you understand toxicity and you're nice and relaxed, then you can avoid heart disease, diabetes, cancer, everything, all obesity. All these things are related to your lifestyle. So instead of fighting every individual disease, wouldn't it make sense to just have a healthier lifestyle? But you're lulled into that idea that I'm going to wait till things go wrong and then the medical doctors are going to have a miracle drug. They might not. Maybe it's your lifestyle that's going to save you. Restless leg syndrome. A condition that didn't even exist before. And the treatment for this, and it's real. When someone's getting itching, crawling sensations on their legs and they can't, that's real, don't get me wrong. But the medication they're going to prescribe you is going to be an antidepressant. It's not real. And we all know, we see the commercials on TV, the side effects of antidepressants are people killing themselves. So get this, people who are depressed typically don't kill themselves, but if you take a depressed person and you give them an antidepressant, they're more likely to kill themselves. That's what they tell you on the commercials. I don't know, how did that happen in our society? Who wants to lose weight in their sleep? Well, that's kind of an easy question, isn't it? They did a study in Finland with, I think it was 7,022 people. It was a 7-year study. And they found out that the women who had the worst night's sleeps, they just didn't get the proper sleeps, they put on 11 pounds. So if you're already not sleeping well, I'm going to conclude that you've probably already put on all of that weight or some of it. So you know what we do? If we get you sleeping better, your body will go back to the proper weight. The neatest thing about what we see in our office is I can give 2 different people almost the same diet. Alright, so we're going to get you eating a higher fat source. We're going to get you eating less carbohydrates unless your carbohydrates are complex, then you can eat all of those that you want. But I'm talking about reducing your bread or eliminating. I'm talking understanding sugar and not putting nearly as much in. And I can take someone who's overweight and someone who's underweight and give them the same diet. And the funny thing is, the person overweight will lose weight. The person underweight will gain weight. Because the body is that intelligent. You see, the underweight person, they just didn't have the structure to support the extra weight. You were putting garbage food in them, so the body couldn't rebuild itself any better. And the person who was bigger, they put the weight, they were putting the bad food in there, and their body couldn't process it, so it kept storing it as fat. So it's different mechanisms, different outcomes. But when you give people the healthy food, the body weight goes to the way it's supposed to. And if you look back, people are telling you to snack 3 times a day and you need to eat constantly. People never ate like that anywhere, anytime on earth. 150 years ago, you didn't go to the fridge and see what was in there. And people were lean back then. You look at the fat man in the circus back in the 30s and 40s and you go, I saw that guy at McDonald's today. This is what we see at McDonald's on a daily basis because people weren't big. They just weren't like that at all. So you have to understand the body doesn't make a mistake. However, if you make a mistake by not getting enough hours sleep, you mess up your hormones And then weight loss is inevitable. And the weight loss is the symptom of what's going on. It is absolutely not your problem. So we have to fix what you're doing to your hormones. So how are we going to fix that? Well, I'm a chiropractor. We're going to make sure you have a proper nerve supply. We built a gym here. Why do we do that? Because it's important that you exercise. And I do a lot of exercise. Linda and I, we do bike riding. You know, when you look at our family, we're fit. See, it's you earn a proper night's sleep by doing the things that you're supposed to do. I earn a 32-inch or 31-inch pant by doing certain things. It's all lifestyle, it's all choice, and it's all decision, and it doesn't have to be perfect every day. But you have to have a game plan in order to achieve that. You need to have the proper food in your body. We'll talk about sleep position in a few minutes. Bedding is important. A lot of times, you look at things like people using Tide. We don't use Tide at our place. Tide is one of the most toxic things. Yeah, and I went in the grocery store, not that I go that often, Linda goes, that's one thing that she does. I won't even go down that aisle where they have all the fabric softeners and all the detergents. It's toxic. My body just says stay away from that. So we go for a bike ride through Eastbridge, and there's always this one area where you can smell all the bounce. Someone's got a dryer on, and you can smell it for like a block. And I'm thinking, boy, I'm glad I live out in the country, because I would be smelling this every day of my life. And then people have these plug-in things to poison their whole family. These Febreze plug-ins. This stuff is all toxic. Just go online and read about it. I'm not making this stuff up. These are chemicals made by chemical companies telling you that, oh, it's only a small amount, it's okay. There's only a little mercury in that cavity. Don't worry about the skull and crossbone on that. That doesn't mean anything. Mercury has a skull and crossbone on it for a reason. Mercury's bad for you. You have to understand that. Light. We need to have lack of light at night, our room temperature. We'll talk about that. And consistency when it comes to bedtime and activities before bed too. Now when I say consistency when it comes to our bedtime routine, what men will hear me say is, oh, Dr. Jeff says now I can drink beer every night. Say, no, didn't say it. I do want consistency, but that doesn't mean you're doing the same bad thing every single night. Because the carbs that people put in their body before bed, if you're not going to exercise, they're going to get turned into fat. The next male question is, so I should have beer in the morning? No, that's not right either, but your body would be able to process it a whole lot better in the morning because you're going to burn off those calories a whole lot better. But when you put the wrong thing into your body at night, it's just going to turn into fat. So if you're really serious about losing weight and making differences, it's going to be a sacrifice for a few weeks to a few months, and then you'll see the amazing benefits in that. And once again, back to the sheets, eliminating toxicity. If you use Tide sheets and then you're going to lay on it for 8 hours and breathe that in for the next 8 hours, I'm going to make the argument that you're making this more challenging on your body than it truly has to be. My job as a chiropractor is to make sure the nervous system can clean things out so that your body can handle some of that junk that happens. Now, a subluxation is a bone that slips out of place and it causes incredible stress on your body. These are probably the most common symptoms that people will go and see a medical doctor or a chiropractor with: asthma, headaches, menstrual pain, high blood pressure, depression. Number one reason why people go to see medical doctors: insomnia, sciatica, neck pain, dizziness, fatigue, acid reflux. Those acid reflux drugs, they're called protein pump inhibitor drugs. These drugs, if you've been on them for 5 years, they will increase the chance of you fracturing a bone by 400%. That doesn't mean everyone's going to fracture a bone, but it means there's a greater chance that you would have fractured a bone that you absolutely wouldn't have if you weren't on that drug. So you know what I'd rather have you do? Exercise and eat right. Because then you don't have to try to fix the body from the outside. Because when you put these drugs in there for your acid reflux, now you can't absorb calcium properly. And that's why you're going to break a bone. And people say, oh, don't worry, I supplement with calcium. You know, if you supplement with a calcium and you sit in a chair, you know what's going to happen? Your body's smart. Calcium's going to go right through you. There's no reason for your body to absorb calcium. You see, people are taking vitamins and just peeing them out. because they have no idea, because they've listened to someone. And then they bought their vitamins probably at Rexall instead of at a natural health food store where they would have had a better variety of vitamins. So fix your diet first, supplement later. If you're really sick, well, you might have to start supplementing now. My whole approach is don't get real sick in the first place. Because if you don't get sick, you don't have to worry about what you would do if you were sick. So this is what people do. They wait till things go wrong and then they try to fix themselves. My kids have been adjusted since birth, not because they have problems, because we didn't want them to have a problem. Adam has never been on an antibiotic in his life. Mitchell has never had Tylenol in his life. And when we grew up, Tylenol didn't exist. So it's really not a miracle for us. We go, well, that wasn't so hard. We had fevers, we lived. But nowadays, kids are flammable. If they get a fever, they're going to burn up. It's like, it's not really true, is it? Exercise. Well, 150 minutes a week, that's the magic number. And if you do it, 65% improvement in sleep just by doing that one thing. That's a pretty good improvement, isn't it? 65%. So let's break that down. That's you going for a 30-minute walk. And gee, you only have to do it 6 out of 7 days. That doesn't sound so bad. I rode my bike in on Tuesday. Rode my bike in on Tuesday, took me half an hour, took a little long way there, and then I ran home. I left my bike here. That took me an hour. So I did 90 minutes of exercise in one day. So now I just have to put in another 60 minutes in the next, 4 or 5 days. It's easy to do. You get on a bike, you go to a pool, you go for a walk. And if you do it, 65% improvement. It's a pretty good start. Eliminate the bad things. When we put refined carbs in our body at night, your body has no choice but to turn it into sugar. So if you're going to exercise, that's great, but once again, exercising too close to bed, probably not the brightest thing that we could be doing with our body either. So we have to make some sacrifices, and if you make them, your body's going to work a whole lot better. Our body's designed to deal with light. We love light. And I know that medical doctors are going to tell you that sun is bad for us. And we have to put sunblock on so that we can't produce vitamin D. Well, I'm probably not going to necessarily agree with that. I think vitamin D is essential for our survival. I think if you're going to be outside too long, you have to make different choices, whether it's clothing or the time of day that you go out. Or if you're going to put a sunblock on, do your research and get a healthy version or some kind of a sun reflectant. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but please don't be afraid of the sun. Without the sun, life on Earth would cease to exist. So our body needs sun in order for you to be healthy, in order for you to sleep properly at night. And if you're constantly trying to stay out of the sun or slathering all these lotions on your body that are, by the way, filled with all sorts of chemicals that you can't pronounce, that's probably going to make you sick too, isn't it? So we need light during the day, and then we need darkness in our rooms at night. That's the way the body's designed. And if you do that, your sleep patterns will improve. So that's pretty cool, real simple thing. Make your bed. This is a neat one too. People sleep 19% better if they make their bed. People go, how could that possibly do it? Well, think about it. You're giving a conscious thought into what you're planning in your day. You're saying, I'm going to prepare this bed. I'm going to make it ready. So you're actually planning something. The thing about planning is there's great things that happen when you start to plan. So making your bed, how hard is that? But the research says, yeah, if you make your bed, these people sleep better. That's pretty simple. And yeah, you can get into fancy mattresses and sleep numbers and things. They say your sleep number bed should be above 30. And the whole idea is you want things to be non-toxic. So when we bought our last mattress, it was organic bamboo and latex. Yeah, so it didn't take a lot of research, and it didn't take a lot of time to find something, and we didn't need to rush out and get something. It took us about a week to just do some online searching, and then we went out and did it. And this mattress is going to last. People come in and they say, I think it's my mattress, and I think, yeah, it's probably not my mattress. You always want to blame your mattress. No one wants to blame their lifestyle. First, we'll start with the person in the mirror, and we'll see what we can do there, and then we'll worry about your mattress. Because you buying a new mattress and then doing all the simple things, it's probably not going to do anything except drain your bank account. And then maybe you can be that 60% of people who don't have any money because they keep giving it away for buying melatonin and doing this and doing that. Always trying to buy something new to make yourself better instead of just changing your lifestyle. Elements of a great night's sleep. Well, there's 3 things in this picture. First, sleeping on your belly, not the best idea. You can't breathe the same way, puts a lot of, was that?
Get rid of the cat.
Well, that's the cat. The cat's going to be gone too. I'm not a big cat lover anyways. But you know what? The dog. There's no way I'm kicking the dog out. The dog has to go too. You're right. And the arm. So once again, that's a distraction. That's the weight of someone else putting that arm on you. You can't stay that way. If you stay in that position, you're not going to get the comfortable sleep that you want. 53% of pet owners, they are disrupted. When our dog in his later years, his last few months of his life, he had us up 4 or 5 times a night. And we were sleep deprived for 2 months, then we finally had to put him down. But it was tragic, what was happening to us and to him, and it was like, I can't believe you just see your energy level is zapped when you don't get into your REM sleep. So if you let that happen, if you let people wake you up all night, you're not going to get a good night's sleep. Temperature for your room, they say between 68 and 72. Some people go 65 to 75. You need to be in a range. Now, once again, that's a good thing for guys, probably a bad thing for women, because they're always like, it's too cold.
Don't go there.
This is what the research shows you.
No, that's cool. No, it's all right.
Now, on the weekend, when people greatly change their schedule and they sleep in late and they get up late, this is your own jet lag you're creating for yourself. It's like flying to a different time zone and then saying, why aren't I alert on Monday? Well, gee, it's real simple, because you changed your parameters too much. And your body will adapt, but it can't adapt as quickly as we would like it to. So it's real simple. Go to bed around the same time and get up around the same time. If there's big swings in that, your body's going to let you know. It's going to be in your energy, it's going to be in your hormones, and you're going to see it in your performance. It's going to increase the chance of you getting sick. It's going to increase the chance of you being unalert and cutting or hurting yourself at work. These are important things that people need to be aware of. We talked about how toxic this product is, so find something that's less toxic. You know, if this is the most toxic, you're better off with the second most toxic. But I'm sure you could do way better than that also. So you do your research. Where do you buy this? Well, you could buy it in the grocery stores, or you could buy it in the health food store. We like to try to buy those things in the health food store, because we know that the grocery store is trying to just make money. They don't really believe in that. Or the people at the health food store, they really believe in this. So I'd rather support them if I could. So I'd rather buy my vitamins from people who know more about it than a pharmacy. The pharmacy doesn't care about vitamins. They care about the drugs. They make all their money on the drugs. They just don't want you to take your drug money to another store. That's why they have vitamins in there. It's not for you. They don't believe in it. They believe in money there. 200 reasons to kick sleeping pills. These are the common side effects. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Constipation, hangover feeling. Gets worse. Inflammation. So this is, if you look up the sleeping pills, you're going to find this. There was an interesting article, if you Google CBS Evening News and you put in sleeping pills, they made the connection. This was a study from 2012. They said sleeping pills increases your chance of cancer in the same magnitude as cigarette smoking does. Yeah. Not a good idea, is it? So it interferes with the normal mechanisms of the body. So once again, it goes on and on and on. Some of these are pretty horrible. Let's finish off with a few. Suicidal attempts, that's pretty bad. And get this, insomnia. So, oh doctor, I think I'm having a side effect to my sleeping pill. Or is it just not working? You know, it's two ends of the spectrum here, isn't it? It's comical when you can read a list like that that's Health Canada approved, and it's okay to put this in your body. It's not okay to put it in your body. All sleeping pills are addictive. This is why they give out the 7-day free trial. This is like, oh, here's a fentanyl. You got someone handing out carfentanil on the corner. Well, just take 1 or 2. Well, most of you will become addicts. And when you start to look in the paper, there was a police officer, a story about a police officer arrested someone and then he suddenly stopped breathing. That sounded like carfentanil. You know, this is a person who was an addict, came back from rehab, The father-in-law called the police because it looked like he was using drugs, and then the police got there, cuffed him, and then within minutes to moments, he died. So this is real stuff. It's a 26-year-old that was described as a good kid, and this is what happens when people take medications. There are no shortcuts to your health. You have to make tough choices, and these are horrible, horrible side effects. Startling when you can look at insomnia as a side effect and suicide. And I just don't know how the society got to the point where we've accepted things like that. So in conclusion, to get a great night's sleep, you need great nervous system function. The function comes first. The sleep comes second. So you just got to reorganize some things in your life. And I know a lot of times people want to go home and they want to try to do too many things at once. Go home, focus on one area, and get really good at that. Because usually when I get people exercising, for example, exercise is a great example, people think it's going to be hard to do. It's like, yeah, for about 2 weeks, and then it becomes really easy because your body gets used to it, your body adapts, you become stronger. The first few workouts, you go home tired. You know, there's no doubt about it. It does not give you energy. It takes energy. And your body starts to store energy more efficiently so that you can do it. So now you have more energy. But you got to give yourself that 2 weeks before you can see. And then once you get 2 weeks, it's like, oh, this is easy, I can do it for the rest of my life. But you're stuck in, I can't do this because it hurts. Well, if you don't do it, it's going to hurt everywhere in your body for the rest of your life. At least when I exercise, I get to determine what muscle groups are going to hurt today, all right? So that's the only empowerment that I can give you on that. But I get to determine if it's my quads that are going to be sore or my stomach, but at least I'm in control of that. And I know that's going to help me stand up straight, which is going to help me breathe properly for the rest of my life. Where you see these older people, and they go almost back into the utero position. You know, they're becoming the embryo again. Everything starts to contract in their lives. And then they can't breathe in those positions. Then we can't get life to ourselves and our body. So function is what it's all about. My job as a chiropractor is not to heal you. It never, ever has been. People thank me for helping their back pain or neck pain, and I'm super clear that I didn't do that. I move the bone, God does the healing. My job is to remove interference in your life. And once I remove interference, you were already designed to heal yourself. I'm the only profession that acknowledges that. Everyone else is trying to fix you from the outside in. That's what they do. With drugs, with their ideas. Surgeries are extreme things, and I'm not saying there's never a time for it. But if you run your life properly, you won't be taking drugs. See, I always say drugs and surgery, you can go and get them if your lifestyle doesn't work. The funny thing is, lifestyle always works. So do all the things that you can now to make sure you don't get sick. And when I remove the interference, the body heals itself. That's the way it's always been. Next event we're doing in the office is it's a replacement of our recipe night. We're calling it Vital Cuisine. What it is a potluck dinner here. And Linda and I are cooking up healthy burger choices. So it's going to be a barbecue event. We're going to do that. And then there's going to be 6, 7, or 8 side dishes. Healthy salads and things that you'd have for summer with your burgers. And then you'll make one of those versions, and then someone else will make another, and then you come out and you get to have a nice dinner with us, and then you get to sample the other food and see what you would actually enjoy doing at home. The good news is we try all these things on us at home, and they're always really good. Just some of you, it won't be the same for you with your palate. You might not like it the same way. But usually when people come out, who's been out to a recipe night before? They're a good night, aren't they? Yeah, they're a good time here. And once again, the whole idea is to give you recipes. Adam right now is reorganizing all of our recipes because some of them have been misplaced. And now instead of saying recipe night for April, we're now changing it to here's all of our breakfast ones. Here's all of our lunch ones. So this is all going to end up on the internet, and then you're going to be able to go and look at all our healthy treats and all our soups, and it'll be a lot easier to find things because people are going, there's a good recipe. Which recipe night was it? So it became too challenging when you do 7 years of recipe nights. We started without the end in mind, and I went, yeah, we have to change that a little bit. So that'll make it a whole lot easier for everyone, and that should be up and running in the next bit. Linda, you have some things that you
Yeah.
wanted to go over too.
Jeff just wanted me to, well, just backtracking a little, we put together just a list of different things that you can do just to get started to sleep better. So it's a list of, Adam just typed those up for me today after I put them together. And we have a list of 16 different things. And they're simple things that you can just do to change your life and to sleep better. Jeff has touched on a lot of them here, so it'll just be a summary. We'll also be putting up the video on the internet maybe sometime tomorrow, but this list will be up there tomorrow so you can get started. One thing just to extrapolate, keeping a consistent sleep schedule. I know Jeff got into that, but one of the big things is, and it changes sometimes on the weekends, so especially children or teenagers, what they tend to do is sleep that much longer to make up for it. And that's probably the worst thing to do because you are changing your routines, and that's one thing that really works against you when you're trying to sleep. And very importantly, and I know it doesn't work for shift workers, but you want to follow your circadian rhythms. And just even in our research, I tend to want to go to bed a little later. Jeff is like, he's a 10 o'clock person. I kind of like to stay up just a little bit later. But 10 and 2 are your most important sleep times because that is when your body is doing the most restorative work. That's just the way our body functions with the circadian rhythms. There's no way around that. So it's really important that we try to get to bed earlier and sleep through the night. If you get to bed late, I mean, yes, we're going to go out, you might be home at, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, still try to get up close to the normal time you get up the next day. And if you have to, take a power nap in the afternoon, no more than 20, 30 minutes, because that's going to affect your next night's sleep. And then that night, when you go to bed, you're going to be tired and you will fall asleep. But that's what the researchers suggest is the best way to deal with that. I mean, and yes, sometimes we can fall off that path, but that is the best way to get your good night's sleep. Medications, he touched on that. Some medications may prevent you from sleeping. So do some Googling, figure that out, and then talk to your doctor about what can you do instead if it is something, because if you're not getting your sleep, your hormones are out of balance and you're going to have a whole set of things to deal with down the road. We talked about exercising. One thing that we didn't mention was make sure, Jeff mentioned it, but not in the same way. You want to start in the morning or the afternoon. If you wait till 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night to do your exercises, you're going to get, if you do it regularly, you're going to know that you get an adrenal boost, an adrenaline boost later on at night. So if you've exercised at 8 and you try to go at 10, all of a sudden you'll be wide awake because that whole burst of energy comes. So that's not the right way to do it. So you want to exercise, or if you're going to do it, it might be just a nice little light walk around the block just to get some fresh air. One more thing too, and we just touched on that, electronics, right? Everybody is, nowadays people have all their electronic gadgets in their rooms, like from your TVs, some people, to your computers, to your cell phones, and all of those emit blue lights. You know what I mean by the blue light, right? That is one of the worst things for you when you're trying to sleep. So it actually, when you're trying to sleep, it's got a different wavelength, and it increases your cortisol. And your cortisol is your stress hormone. So the idea is you don't want those blue lights in the room, or maybe you can shut it down or put a cover over it, but that can really affect you. And on the same theme, all of the electronic devices in your house, and particularly the ones that are not plugged in, the Wi-Fi ones, they have electromagnetic fields. And those electromagnetic fields will also really affect your sleep as well. And they actually interfere with your production of melatonin. So if you've got your cell phones in your room, put them as far away from you as possible. Don't keep them beside your bedside. I mean, even they say electronic alarm clocks, they can actually affect you too. Those old-fashioned ones were probably the right ones, but I don't even know where you can buy those nowadays, right? But just to keep those types of things, like we live in a very technological world, but a lot of the things that we're doing with it is actually causing us some real stress in our lives and making our hormones go out of whack and causing us not to be able to sleep. And another thing too, if you're having some trouble, positive affirmations are always an important thing to do. So for example, if you say, here I go again, I'm gonna have a restless night's sleep, I'm never gonna get to sleep, then you just sort of say, no, it's normal for me to wake up every once in a while, but I'm gonna get back to sleep. To see the difference in what you can talk yourself into. So it's that, again, like what you were mentioning before too, about getting your bed ready for a night. You are making a statement, you're getting your mind prepared, and you want to do that. And that's basically all I have that we didn't really cover here, but that will be in the notes tomorrow. And the last thing is follow through, right? I mean, I'm guilty of that, we're all guilty of it. We all have these great plans, and then you get up the next morning, you say, I'm gonna do this, and you get up and you go right into your routine, and then you go, oh well, maybe tomorrow. And then that happens again and again. And the biggest thing is just take off a chunk that you can handle. Make that change. And as soon as you get that change, make another change. So anyways, that's all I have.
Now, ladies, you're lucky there's a hockey game on tonight, so that's.
Yeah.
That's usually my best time to sleep.
I put on golf. So yeah, sporting tonight. That's it's a big game, Canada. We have to win this to get to the. Ottawa's got to win it to get to the Stanley Cup. So that could be some sleep time for me. And you know what? They show the highlights anyway, so if you doze off, you'll just wake up when you hear all the noise again. It'll be just like you saw it.
But that'll spoil my sleep though when I get to bed tonight.
Yeah. Not me.
If I do that.
Good. There you go.
Any questions?
Yes.
I have one question. I noticed all the food you have up here. Is there a role of good food and bad food there, or?
Yeah, when we're done, we'll go through this with you. There's good choices and bad choices beside all of them. So if you spend a couple minutes, we'll turn on the lights and then I'll let you look at some of the labels. And then people say, well, I eat this and all.
Oh, okay.
We'll start looking through it and say, well, this is why we have a good one and a bad one, because then you can look at them. So there's different levels of food. So, for example, we've got Annie's organic. It's kind of like a organic version of Kraft Dinner. And then
And we're not saying that that's the
and then
best
we
thing
have
you can eat,
Kraft
but it's a
dinner.
step up.
So, you know, obviously the organic version is going to be way, way better. Then we'll have sour cream. The fat-free sour cream has 13 ingredients in it. And people love fat-free stuff because we know fat will kill you. Fat's good for us, all right? That's the big lie, because when you cut out fat, you start eating a lot more carbs, because you got to take calories in from some source. So if you decrease your fat, you're going to increase your carbs. That's how people put on weight. Now, in the fat-free sour cream, there's 13 ingredients. The 5th ingredient is propylene glycol. Do you guys know what propylene glycol is? It's windshield washer fluid. It's what they use to de-ice planes. Look it up online. You know, I can't make up stuff this comical. And people, that's in your food. And people go, oh, it's only a small amount. It's the 5th ingredient. You know, when we look at the Nutella label here, they say Nutella's made of hazelnuts. Oh, no, it's not. It's made out of sugar, and then vegetable oil, and then hazelnuts. So when your product that you're putting in your body, the first ingredient is sugar, you might want to consider never putting it into your body. So once you start to realize how to read labels, now the full fat sour cream, there's 3 ingredients in it. Well, when God made food, He made it to be a certain way. When man had to alter food to change it, then we had to put all sorts of horrible chemicals in there to make it look real again. That's a problem. So spend a few minutes, take a look at that, and then see what you have at home, and then go home and start throwing some stuff out. Any other questions? Good. All right, thank you. If anything else pops up, we're going to be here for a few minutes. But